Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Teresa Hansen, Vice President of Global Content, Clarion Energy.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of PowerGen International and to our inaugural second day keynote. I hope everyone enjoyed the first day of the show and that it was productive for you. It's great to see you back this morning for this second day. I know most of you probably realize today is a day of mourning for the United States. So at this time, on this National Day of Mourning, I would like to take just a couple of seconds to have silence in remembrance of our 41st President, George Herbert Walker Bush. Thank you. I know that yesterday was a long, busy day for many of you, and for those of you who attended the PowerGen International Birthday Bash or maybe some of the other parties that were going on last night, I'm sure many of you could have used an extra hour of sleep this morning, but I think you'll be glad that you made the effort to be here because we have 2 great speakers as well as some deserving award winners on the program this morning. I said it yesterday, but I think it's worth repeating. The PowerGen team and Clarion want to let you know how much we appreciate you choosing to spend this week with us. We know that you have many things to do, and we're thrilled that you're here. I want to remind you that PowerGen's first live webcast ever will occur this morning at 11:30. It will end at 1 p.m. The Italian trade agency is sponsoring the webcast, which is titled EVs and Beyond, Power Generation Innovations Advancing the Energy Industry. The webcast will take place in room W303A on the 3rd level of the Convention Center, and it is free. So anyone who has a badge can attend the webcast. After the webcast concludes at 12:30, the Italian Trade Agency is hosting a free luncheon, but space for that lunch is limited, so be sure to arrive early for the webcast to get your lunch ticket if you haven't already RSVP'd. You can find more information about that webcast on the little card that you should have found on your chair this morning. We had a lot of activity yesterday on the 3rd level of the Convention Center, which is where our conference sessions take place. We're now calling those the summit sessions. Those sessions will continue today. You have to have a conference delegate badge to attend the regular summit sessions. However, this afternoon, at the same area on the 3rd floor, we're offering our mega sessions, and those are open to everyone, so please make note of that. We have some great topics and great speakers lined up. Those sessions, the mega sessions begin at 3 and they end at 4:30. In addition, we're offering content in the exhibit hall again today. If you weren't able to make it to one of our knowledge hubs yesterday, I hope you can check it out today. We had great crowds there. They were really great. And we have some more great speakers lined up for those knowledge hubs today. I was able to make it by 1 yesterday, and like I said, it was great to see so many people there. You can find out more about the hubs on that same card that you had in your chair. And I would recommend, however, that you go ahead and download our mobile app because we have made some changes to our schedules and speakers in those hubs. So if you want to see the lineup, you can download the mobile app. And if you haven't already done so, not just for the hubs, but for everything, you probably could use that mobile app. So you can download it. It's easy to find by searching for PowerGen in iTunes or Google Play. Also, if you haven't already heard, you can learn a lot about what's going on at PowerGen through our social media channels from our other attendees. We have opportunities this week for you to win some prizes in our contest that we're calling Grin and Win. The more you post, share, and like PowerGen International on social media channels, the better your chance to win some amazing prizes. They're 1980s retro prizes, so everyone I'm sure will want to win that. So please help us create some social buzz around PowerGen, and maybe you'll leave here with a great prize. Just remember, use hashtag PowerGen18. One more thing I want to mention, we're giving away a Mercedes tomorrow on the show floor. You can find out all the details and what you must do to be eligible to win in your show guide, or again, you guessed it, on that mobile app. So again, be sure to download that. And just as I did in yesterday's keynote, I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge our sponsors and exhibitors. Their support and financial investment in PowerGen International is so important. It allows us to offer you many perks during the week, including all of the networking opportunities. And our sponsors are listed in the show guide and on the app, so please take a few minutes to look at that extensive list. These companies are important to our industry, and they're very important to PowerGen and Clarion, and we really appreciate their support and investment in this event. So, with all that said, we're going to hear from our first speaker this morning. I'd like to introduce Scott Strazik. Mr. Strazik is Chief Executive Officer of GE Gas Power, a new business GE is creating to unify its gas power systems and power services team into one life cycle organization. Mr. Strazik has more than 18 years of operations and leadership experience with GE across corporate, aviation, and power, including 5 years with the company's gas power business. He was named an officer of the General Electric Company in 2015 and appointed to his current role just last month. Most recently, he was the president and CEO of GE's Power Services business, a $12 billion revenue organization focused on aftermarket generation services and solutions. Prior to his CEO role, he was the sales and commercial operations leader for GE's Gas Power Systems business and was actively involved in the successful launch of GE's HA gas turbine product line. Mr. Strazik holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Industrial Labor Relations from Cornell University, as well as a master's degree from Columbia University's School of International and Public Affairs with a focus on economics and public policy. Please welcome Mr. Scott Strazik.
Teresa, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm really happy to be here to have an opportunity to talk with you about, I think what we all would agree is a complicated and very interesting power market today. So really 3 themes that we're going to spend the time talking about. Start with, although this is a changing and dynamic market, the reality is gas is going to play a vital role in this market. Opportunities exist across the board, but as we do an around-the-world tour of where some of the best markets are, it's not a global dynamic where you can paint one brush. There's different macro dynamics in different parts of the world, with really the one consistency being that technology continues to matter. Customers are looking for solutions and iteration in this dynamic and volatile world, and those that deliver that technology and solutions are those that are going to be successful. From a macro environment, listen, if you start in the top left, this is a market that's clearly gravitating more and more towards clean energy. And whether it's companies with captive power to buying from the grid to the retail base, that expectation is there, and consumers are paying for that to a larger extent. Along with that, the fuel dynamics are changing. When you think about the LNG dynamics, we'll talk about that, supply and demand, pricing with gas, the inflection point between gas and coal, and that becoming real not just in North America, but many other parts of the world, is clearly a narrative for gas that's very real. Material sciences. Listen, this is an industry for a long time that's seen 1/4 point of efficiency improvement in gas turbines. But in the last 5 years, we've been running at more like 1/2 point of efficiency improvement. And in the case of GE, a lot of that efficiency benefits coming from the material sciences that we're stealing from our aircraft engines business that's in a major investment cycle right now. Nuclear is changing, and the view of nuclear, especially in Asia, and that's creating a dynamic with gas that we'll talk about. And you add all these things up together, and you clearly have a dynamic, changing market, more captive power, more intermittent power, in the customers in the market looking for OEMs and technology providers to provide new solutions for them to navigate these waters. Gas will play a vital role. And within that, we kind of break down some headlines that will go into another level of detail. But listen, you can look into the foreseeable future and see electricity demand continuing to grow at about 2% a year. Now, the dynamics between the OECD and non-OECD countries are certainly different, and we'll go through that, but that's a general framework to start. You can also look at the market at large and see that there's 700 gigawatts or thereabouts over the next 20 years of nuclear and coal that's planned to be retired. So you've got 35 gigawatts a year over the next 20 years that is going to be replaced by some certainly high level of renewables growth, but also gas playing an integral role. Fundamentally, renewables is going to grow faster than any other power source. We know that. And that's the reality of where the market sits. But at the same time, when you look at other dynamics like the importance of the power density, when you look at the fuel dynamics and the economics at play with gas, there's a lot of opportunity in place for gas to play in this changing marketplace. Quickly on this page, the left-hand side just gives a walk of GDP growth in the OECD countries in the dotted line and electricity demand in the bars or the colors. And you can see the discrepancy between GDP growth of, say, 1 to 2% relative to fairly flattish electricity demand, and a lot of that's coming from demand-side efficiencies that are coming in play. But on the right-hand side, a very different dynamic where number one is the GDP growth is growing more, but number two, the electricity demand growth with it is much more in line. That's good, that's interesting. Those projects are harder. Those markets are harder. It's not just gas turbines or power plant, it's putting together the solutions with fuel, the financing, and everything else that's required to fulfill the needs on the right-hand side of this page. This is an interesting dynamic of what we've seen in North America over the last 10 to 15 years. North America peaked in emissions from power plants in 2005. From 2005 to 2017, emissions from power have come down by 27%. That 27% reduction is being driven from the fact that coal has gone from 50% to 30%. Gas has gone from 19 to mid-30s. And renewables and wind has grown exponentially to 5–6% from very little 12 years ago. So when you look at this and you look at the fact that North America's got a much more environmentally friendly demand-side system today, 2/3 of that's come from coal to gas switches, and 1/3 has come from the renewables growth. So the scale and the impact of gas on changing not just the economics of the landscape, but also the environment is very fundamental. Power density matters. And I think you take a step back and think about the fact that 25% of the world's population live in cities with more than 1 million people. 10% of the world's population live in cities with more than 10 million people. And you think that power density matters. You've got a very consolidated base of people ultimately in the world in places in which you've got to get an immense amount of power. New York City, 2040, driving towards all buses being electric. To power those buses in 2040 would take 15% of the island of Manhattan. Power density is relevant. Power density is part of the equation of how gas plays a vital and important role in a changing economic and power dynamic. Fuel. You look at the left-hand side with liquefaction capacity and the existing capacity of 369 million tons per annum. How much is in construction right now that's being added? Somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 more. And then what is being planned or being evaluated right now? And there is a lot more gas that's entering the market. Historically, a lot of that is coming from Qatar, it's coming from Australia, but in that proposed 875, half of that's North America. That's on the liquefaction side, and the flip side, on the right-hand side of the page, the regasification capacity is growing in a very similar way. So on the receiving side, you can see the walk with a similar amount of construction that's in place right now, more in Asia than any other place. But then another sequence of proposed projects that's going to change the landscape of other markets in the world, especially Asia, much like we've seen the landscape in North America change drastically. So we take all this together and say gas has a critical role. Dispatchable, flexible, affordable, fast to solve problems and have an impact based on scale. Okay? Let's take a step and think about some of the global markets and just give some comparisons of what's in play today. And if we start with Taiwan, it's a country with 24 million people, has set a goal of reducing its nuclear capacity to 0 by 2025, to get its coal production from 40-some-odd% into the low 30s. That math on its own is going to create 10 to 15 gigawatts of gas opportunities in the very near term. GE in the end of 16 bid on a project in Taiwan with a 10-day bidding cycle, won the project, put 600 megawatts on the grid with 2 7HA.02s 9 months later. A project that we're very proud of and one of many on an island that's one where power density clearly matters because there's only so much space, and with it there's only so many solutions that are going to solve the guidelines or the goals that the country set. Take Bangladesh, country with 165 million people. Agricultural independence plays a vital role. Not a lot of scarce land. 2 gasification projects in the process of being built and constructed right now. This is a great market for gas. We have 3 HA projects on contract that have been booked at this point, the first of which that'll get commissioned in 2020. And we see a lot more activity and a lot more pipeline in a place like Bangladesh. They've got the fuel and the growth and the infrastructure that they're putting in place. They have the economic growth they need to support, i.e. the right-hand side of the OECD page with exponential GDP growth. And nothing's going to support that economic growth faster than scaled power, which they're going to get from gas. Brazil, listen, this is a country that's heavily dependent on hydro. Massive amounts of wind growth right now. But at the same time, a lot of gas opportunity. We have our first 1.5 gigawatt HA plant that's in the process of being built right now and will be commissioned in the market in 2019. Renewables is going to grow exponentially larger than any other power source, but there's a lot of gas projects that we're going to be working on in the next few years. North America, listen, we still have 390 gigawatts of power in North America from coal. Exactly how quickly the shift continues from coal to gas, from coal to nuclear, everybody has a different view on that. You can look at the external dynamics and see ranges over the next 5 years of how much new gas is going to come in play, 30 gigawatts, 40 gigawatts. I'd be on the low end of the range in the near term based on where the market is. But if you take a step back in the medium term and say North America still has 390 gigawatts of coal, cheap gas and the technology that's at play, and this is a great market for us. Europe, which by no means has been an easy market for gas over the last many years, is a market that we see a number of green shoots today. We've had exponential amounts of renewables growth, not great economic growth, unclear government policy, but we look at the markets right now, and for upgrades and our services activity, we're seeing a lot of activity right now. We're seeing countries like Italy come in and talk more formally about adding capacity markets to incentivize gas players to be there for the intermittent nature of renewables and to support their goal of reducing coal to nothing by 2025. So these are tales of very different markets, but all markets for different reasons that gas is going to play a fundamentally important role. Technology matters and is going to matter. And GE's proud of its HA technology and everything that's gone with it. We have 30 HA gas turbines running today. We just eclipsed 220,000 operating hours. Guinness Book records with efficiency with the 9H machine in France at 62% efficiency, a little bit better than 63% efficiency with our 7H machine in Japan. 83 orders and a growing book and a portfolio and a product line that we're proud of and committed to. But when we think about technology in this market right now, it's more than just a new unit game, because the reality is customers are making massive investments in their existing fleet too. And especially in today's environment, we're talking a lot about this business being one that you need to manage right to left versus left to right. So you start with managing your install base and then figure out how to support an install base or growing an install base that from a demand perspective is smaller today. But if you look at GE and you look at the 7,500 gas turbines or thereabouts that we have in the fleet and the number that have actually gone through upgrades, and it's a substantial number. And today, or in this most recent past, that's the things we all know about. That's more output, that's more efficiency, it's flexibility. But on this, we just talk about the fact that with 2 of our more pronounced upgrade programs, whether it be the 7F or 9F upgrade program, in which we've sold many of them over the last 5 years, it has been primarily for output and efficiency. And the economics that go with that, with an ability to get larger capacity payments and save fuel with the improved efficiency. And that's been important, but that's not the only innovation that has to happen in this space to support our customers. So we're continuing to recreate ourselves and how we support the install base with things, as an example on the next page, that outline some of our other products that are coming. So this is one that we're talking about a lot today with customers called the 7F Flex, as an example of one of many in our product portfolio. This isn't about more output. This isn't about more efficiency. This is about the fact that today our gas turbines generally have a min load, say, in the low 40s, depending on the operating parameters. And through the technology that we insert into this fleet can give the customers flexibility to go from a min load capacity of low 40s into the low 20s. Real value to the end customers, an ability to stay online versus shut down and consume considerably less fuel at the 20% relative to the 40%, stay on their toes to be available for the intermittent nature of renewables. So just like we innovated with output and efficiency with some of our upgrade programs, we're developing a portfolio of options for today's world in which this is just one of many for how we integrate and innovate with our customer base. It's not just with traditional things either with our fleet. We're looking to do things with other OEM gas turbines, but not servicing and turning wrenches. That's frankly not that interesting to us. But what is interesting to us is adopting those gas turbines and making them our own, leveraging the history of the experience that I talked about in the prior pages, and inserting technology that drives real value and economics for the customers. This power plant with Naturgy in Mexico, 9% output improvement, adopting machines and inserting our technology, 3 points of efficiency benefit. So where we have opportunities like that to partner with our customers in the fleet, that's exactly what we're going to do. Teresa framed it up, but we're really excited about the new gas power organization within GE. This is an opportunity to focus for our customers with one life cycle view, bringing together our new units and services business to have one face to the customer, integrated business, streamlined organization to be nimble and available to be a world-class provider and generator for the customers that matter. And I'm very excited to be in this role and to lead this organization forward. To wrap, listen, this is a complicated market, no question about it, with a lot of open switches and different dynamics in different places. But the practical reality is that technology will lead forward. Companies that service and innovate with their fleet will lead forward. Teams ultimately are what matter, and people are ultimately what matter. And in this market with these dynamics, it's going to be those that have what I like to reference as the gritty optimism that's required to navigate this market today. And I can tell you, when I think about that and I think about my GE team and what we're doing and going to do, these boxes are checked. And with that, I'm very excited to be in this role and to support this room and the customer base and our partners on the future of where we go with gas. Thank you.
Take that. Thank you very much. It was
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Strazik. Before I introduce you to our next speaker, it's time to announce this year's winners of the Peabody Energy Clean Coal Leadership Awards. Joining me on stage for those awards will be Dr. Holly Krutka, Vice President of Coal Generation and Emissions Technology at Peabody Energy. Although power generation sources are changing, coal is expected to be an essential source of global electricity generation for many decades to come. And companies are making great strides when it comes to clean coal technologies that can reduce sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, particulate matter, mercury, and other emissions, even as coal use increases. In addition, the latest high-efficiency, low-emission plants have cut carbon dioxide emission rates by 20 to 30% of that of less efficient plants of the same size. And investment in next-generation carbon capture, use, and storage technologies are moving coal closer to the ultimate goal of near-zero emissions. The Peabody Global Energy Awards program was established in 2014 to showcase coal-fueled power plants for top environmental performance, innovation leadership, and education about the benefits of clean coal technologies. Today's winners represent examples of best-in-class clean coal technologies from China, India, and the United States. Thanks for joining me. So now I'm going to go ahead and announce our first winner. The first presentation today recognizes Hubei Shinergy Power Generation Company as the winner of the High Efficiency, Low Emissions Leadership and Innovation Award. I'd like to invite Wenhu Yang to the stage to accept the award. Congratulations. Our next presentation recognizes the winner of the High Efficiency and Sustainability Leadership and Innovation Award. The winner is Knob High Power Limited, and I'd like to invite Rit Dizia of Larson and Toubro to come up on the stage to accept the award. Congratulations. Our final award today is the Carbon Capture and Storage Pioneer Award, which goes to Wyoming Integrated Test Center. Jason Beggar of Wyoming Integrated Test Center is here today to accept the award. Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations to all of our Peabody Award winners, and thanks to Peabody for being a supportive sponsor of PowerGen International. We really appreciate their support. So I just want to remind you once again, thank your sponsors when you see them in the exhibit hall. If you haven't already done so, download the app so you can keep up with everything that's going on. Use your social media channels, get your tweets and photos out there. And that concludes the keynote. So thank you all for coming. The exhibit hall is open, the hubs and the summit sessions start very soon. Enjoy your day, everybody.